We are live. Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Live Q&A. My name is Lee Hayward, and I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness, any specific challenges that you may be dealing with when it comes to workouts, nutrition, injuries, anything like that. If there's any questions, challenges, or topics of discussion that you would like to discuss or have me discuss, feel free to type those questions into our chat window, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. All right, so we're getting things underway here now, and we are streaming live through the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, as well as my personal Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. So as you're popping on, please introduce yourself, right? Let me know if this is coming through loud and clear, that you can hear me and see me and all that good stuff. Would much appreciate it. All right, seeing some people popping on to our live stream here. So again, I'll just stretch and wait a moment while we're getting people popping on here. I see a lot of regulars joining back in. We've got Robert tuning in. We've got AJ tuning in. Lee's joining in, saying it is coming through loud and clear. Excellent. Appreciate it, folks. Thank you so much. We've got the Buff Canuck joining in, saying he can hear me good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Awesome. Glad to hear that it is working. All right. I see people popping on there. We've got a Deal joining in as well. Welcome back. There's a lot of regulars joining in. And if you are a regular to the show, you know how this works. Again, I'm going to be hanging out here answering questions and topics of discussion that you folks have. And if you're brand new to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Live Q&A, I want to welcome you. It's always nice to have new people joining the Total Fitness Bodybuilding community. And if you haven't already done so, I would highly recommend that you join the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. And I have a link to that in the video description below. If you pop that open, you can see a link there where you can join the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group. And this is a great place where you can interact and ask questions throughout the week. You can share what's going well with regards to your workouts, get advice from other people in the group. It's a very supportive environment to help with bringing along your fitness goals. So, I mean, you're kind of surrounded by like-minded people who are there to help and support and encourage you. And the cool thing about that group is I run a tight ship. So if there's anybody who's in there not supportive, not helpful, speaking negatively about anybody or anything that's not conducive to promoting a good quality environment there and a supportive group of people, then they get the boot. And I have no qualms about that. If anybody's not there to help and support, or anybody's in there just trying to spam or stir the pot or something like that, they get the boot. So it's a very supportive group in that sense. And I would highly recommend you check it out. And it's a great way to keep that conversation going throughout the week. Right. So I'm in there on a daily basis, interacting, chatting, and we get a lot of people posting, sharing their workouts, asking for advice, sharing some nutrition and supplement tactics that they're implementing and things like that. So it's a great way to keep that support going. So if you haven't done so, check it out, the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group over on Facebook, right? Link down in the description below. Or if you want, you can just search for Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding. It should pop up there in the search. All right, let's see. What do we got there? Any questions? Who's got the first question of the day? Let her go. Let's see. We got Adil. Adil's been participating a lot in our Q&A recently with some great questions, so I much appreciate it. And here's his question so far. It says, can the average man achieve a phenomenal physique, top 1%, naturally with average genetics, or does it take exceptional genes and enhancement? All right, great question. And let's just zoom out and look at the big picture. Achieving a phenomenal physique, i.e. the top percent, that is above average, right? Like when you look at what is average, anybody who's in the top 1% in anything, whether that is, sports, physique, like bodybuilding, athletic achievements, musical achievements, business achievements, educational achievements, anybody who is in the top 1%, that is not average. All right. So it takes exceptional, skill for one. I mean, like let's just focus primarily on bodybuilding or physique building, because when I say bodybuilding, I'm talking about building your body. I'm not necessarily always talking about getting on stage and competing in a bodybuilding competition. So we need to kind of clarify it. When I refer to getting on stage and competing in a bodybuilding competition, I refer to that as competitive bodybuilding. But when I just simply say bodybuilding, any one of you who are in the gym trying to build a better body, i.e., lose the gut, build muscle, and improve your health and fitness, to me, that is true bodybuilding. You're building your body better. That's what bodybuilding is. But competitive bodybuilding, that's on stage, posing trunks, tan, oil, yada yada yada. All right, that's a different animal altogether. But to achieve the top 1%, whether it's competitive or just bodybuilding to build a better body, yeah, it takes exceptional genetics. I mean, the average person's not going to be just accidentally become world class, elite, top 1%, right? That's not going to happen. Now, even when you stack everything on top of that, great genetics, performance enhancement, and everything else, to reach the top 1%, that's still stretching it, right? Like I know people, I'll give you some prime examples, like people who've competed on the provincial level, right? So like even myself, like I'm a former provincial bodybuilding champion. I won a provincial championships back in 2007. I won the overall at our provincial championships. I went on to compete at the regional level, got my ass kicked. Right. So you might be okay at the local level or the novice level or whatever, but then you step up to a higher level, the regional level or the national level or whatever, and now you're going to get your ass kicked. So, I mean, technically, that's not the top, and then you might go ahead and win the nationals. And then as soon as you make it to the pros, then you're getting your ass kicked. Or you might even make it in some of the lower level pro shows. And then when you get to the top level pro shows, i.e., like the Olympia in bodybuilding or whatever, the highest level in competition that you're in, you could get your ass kicked. So, I mean, we really don't truly have an appreciation for what the top 1% is. Like, that is so high up the mountain for most people, right? And I mean, it's a great question and stuff, but all you really have to do is focus on being better than you were before. Like, this can be a discouragement. Like sometimes people go through naivety, and I'm as guilty as this as anybody. Like when I was a teenager, started working out, I had dreams of, oh, I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder. I'm going to win the Mr. Olympia. I'm going to do it all. Like I'm going to be the best of the best of the best. And I had this naivety, and gosh darn it, I'm going to do it naturally. And sometimes that being so naive and so green can give you the motivation or just the reduces the friction of getting started. Whereas sometimes if you overthink it, like you realize how big of a task is ahead of you, you don't even want to start. But nowadays with the internet and so much information readily available, fewer and fewer people are that naive like I was when I started. I mean, keep in mind, I started working out in the late 80s. There was no internet. Information came very slowly. And I didn't think anybody used performance enhancements or anything like that. And I didn't even know what genetics was as far as bodybuilding's concerned. I figured, hey, as long as you work hard, you're going to get results. And I was so green and naive. And that helped. That helped in the early phase. But now people realize there's more to it than just good old fashioned hard work. You have to have elite genetics if you really want to make it to the elite level. And then you have to do everything on top of that to maximize those genetics. Right? It's not just eat right and exercise. Like that'll only take you so far, right? You have to push your whole lifestyle around optimizing it if you want to be the top 1%, right? So it's really like the pinnacle. And a lot of people don't realize just how high up that is. And sometimes like when you're even scrolling through the internet and maybe you're following your favorite fitness influencers and stuff like that, you don't realize how much a lot of these people put into it. Like their whole life is just obsessed around eat, sleep, train, repeat, and doing whatever they can, right? A lot of them are not with careers and families and other responsibilities, and working out is just like a side hobby. I mean, some of them are, but most of them, like, this is their thing, and basically they got all their eggs in this basket, right? On top of good genetics, on top of whatever performance enhancements are going into the system and everything else. So bottom line, the chances of someone just accidentally hitting the top 1%, the average Joe, is, you got a better chance of winning the lottery, put it that way, right? So we'll leave it at that and move on. Another good question here. Have you lost any lean muscle tissue since your prime bodybuilding years and getting into cycling? Cycling aside, as I've gotten older, I've lost muscle tissue because I'm not as big as I used to be, nor am I trying to be as big as I used to be. And a lot of that, this was even before I got serious into cycling. Now, I just want to backtrack on cycling because I always, like, ever since I was a kid and learned how to ride a bike, I never stopped riding a bike, but I never took it seriously. I just rode for fun and blissfully ignorant to how slow I was on a bicycle, but I enjoyed it and I did it. And even through my bodybuilding days, a lot of my pre-contest cardio, I would just, hey, jump on the bike and go for a bike ride as part of my cardio to kind of add variety. So I always was involved with cycling, even when I was bodybuilding, but not serious cycling. It was just cycling to get exercise, to burn calories, and because I enjoyed it. It was fun. But I didn't know anything about cycling. Like, I wasn't tracking any of the metrics. I didn't even know what the metrics were. Like, I didn't even know what, like, FTP and watts and power to weight ratio and all this kind of stuff, and all the things that are into the cycling world. Like, I had no idea. It was just, I ride my bike, right? It was just blissfully ignorant, but I enjoyed it. And it was great cardio. I mean, it would help, aid with the fat burning process when competing in bodybuilding. So I was always involved with cardio and cycling and stuff. But where I really lost a lot of muscle tissue for me was when I had some injuries, like in the late 2000s, in around the, and even in 2010, 2011 time frame, I had some injuries, and ever since then it's been a slow decline because of those injuries. I haven't been able to train as hard, push myself to the same degree. Like, I tore a muscle in my back. That was the first one. That hindered me from doing heavy deadlifts. That hindered me from doing heavy squats and things like that. Tore both biceps. So that hindered me from pushing as hard. And since those injuries, I haven't been able to train the same. And I'm honestly scared of re-injuring myself. So I haven't been pushing myself the same. So that was the start of a slow decline. Now that I'm older and I'm not competing in bodybuilding anymore, the whole idea of trying to be as big as possible is not, that doesn't interest me anymore. I want to be lean, healthy, fit, and focusing on, like, total fitness, not just being the biggest and strongest guy in the gym, which is what my main goal was, in my early bodybuilding / powerlifting days. That was the main goal. That's not the goal anymore. So I wouldn't blame it all on the cycling, but I would, it's just the transition, the injuries that I've had, and just a change in priorities. And the reason I want to bring that up is because, depending on the type of cycling one does, if someone's really serious, like if you get into, say, like track cycling, I mean, you look at some of those guys, like world-class track cyclists and velodrome cyclists. I mean, some of those guys got massive quads and very muscular builds. I mean, some of them have quads that would rival, top level bodybuilders. Now, obviously, they usually just prioritize that because they want to maximize the power to weight ratio. So they probably don't emphasize as much upper body as they would the lower body. But you can still build and maintain a lot of muscle doing cardio, doing cycling, if you train for it, right? So I'm not going to blame the cycling on losing muscle. I'm going to blame, well, put the reasons, injuries, and I'm going to put it on just changing priorities as I've gotten older. That's not a main priority for me anymore. Right. But have I lost? Absolutely. Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, right now, my day-to-day body weight is, around 195. That's a tip on my average body weight. Whereas back in the day, I would diet down to get to 195. That would be like my contest weight. So I'd be like single digit body fat at this body weight. Whereas now, I haven't measured my body fat recently, but if I had to ballpark guess it, I'm probably in the 15% body fat range, somewhere around there. Like I can see the outline of my muscle definition, but it's not, contest shredded by any stretch. So I've certainly lost size. But that's part choice and part circumstances. Right? I will say this, like when you're big, like the biggest I've ever got is 240 at 5'6". So I mean, yes, that is heavy, but I mean it's not heavy compared to, what a lot of people that I know. Like I know people who are 300 pounds and they think they're skinny because they know they got friends and family members who are 400 pounds, right? Like it's all relative to the individual. But for me, like 240, it was heavy. And I felt uncomfortable at that weight. Like I would literally get out of breath climbing a flight of stairs. Like it was, had to take a breath and then bend over to tie my shoes. Because when I bend over to tie my shoes, like I'd almost be like cutting off my air circulation for a moment. Like you still go through a lot of the same struggles as someone who's overweight in terms of just carrying excess body fat. So when you see some of these big muscular bodybuilders, I mean, sure, they're strong in the gym and stuff, but from a day-to-day perspective, they suffer from a lot of the same issues that just normal fat people suffer from. I mean, a lot of these guys have sleep apnea. They're on CPAP machines and things like that. A lot of them have high blood pressure. And, I mean, it's just not healthy to be that big, right? Like when you're seeing people who are 250 and 300 pounds and stuff, whether it's 250 lean or 250 fat, it ain't healthy, right? Like that's a lot of extra stress on the body, extra stress on the joints, tendons, ligaments, on the heart. It's a lot of extra stress. So having an ideal body weight, I mean, it feels so much better, right? And I mean, I personally, I don't want to be, over 200 pounds ever again. Like that's my threshold. I want to stay. Ideally, I would even prefer to be even lighter, but this is kind of like my comfort zone without feeling like I'm on a diet. This is kind of like where I maintain, and I feel like at my strongest and at my fittest with highest energy at this body weight. All right, who else we got? We have Neil joining us. Neil's a regular to our chats. He says, I'm currently doing a rear delt fly and noticed that I'm feeling on my triceps rather than my rear delts. Also, do rear delts get involved on pull-ups and rows? All right, that's not abnormal because if you're doing a rear delt fly, like that motion where you're extending, you do have to lock out your triceps. So yeah, you will probably feel the tricep come into play because you have to keep your arm extended throughout that fly motion. That's not a bad thing, but are you still feeling the rear delts? That's the big one. Like feeling the triceps as a secondary muscle, that's fine. But are you still feeling the rear delts? If not, then you might want to change around the exercises or the angles or the position so that you can feel the rear delts, right? Like, and this applies with any exercise. Like you're probably doing an exercise. Like let's just say you're doing a bench press and you say, okay, I'm doing the bench press because I want to build a bigger chest, but I feel it in my triceps as well. That's normal because the triceps are a secondary and supporting muscle for the bench press or a shoulder press or any type of press. Whenever you do a type of row, you might be doing it because you want to work the lats, but you may be also feeling secondary stress in the biceps. That's normal because, again, the biceps come into play as secondary muscles when you do rowing movements. Like if you're doing squats to build your quadriceps, but you also feel your hamstrings and your glutes coming into play. That's normal because they're all supporting muscles that come into play. Like there's truly no isolation exercise. I know like in bodybuilding, we have, if it's a single joint exercise, it's an isolation exercise, but there's really no isolation exercise because anytime you do a movement, multiple muscles are coming into play. Heck, just to stand up, right? Multiple muscles have to come into play. Everything from all the stabilizer muscles throughout your ankles and your legs and your calves, quads, hamstrings, core, like everything has to come in play just to stand up. Like there is no such thing as just isolating one single muscle. So feeling other body parts is normal, but the key thing is, are you feeling the one that you're trying to work, i.e. the rear delts? Right? That's the most important question you need to ask yourself. And the second part of your question there, do rear delts get involved with pull-ups and rows, etc.? Yes, just like I mentioned before, there's no such thing as a true isolation exercise. So whenever you do any rowing, you're going to bring in all the muscles of your back to some degree. Now, the most of the emphasis will probably be on the lats or whatever area you're actually trying to train. But all those other muscle groups, the traps, the rhomboids, the rear delts, the spinal erectors, like they're all going to still come into play to some degree. Right? That's normal. Right? So it's not a bad thing when you're feeling other muscle groups or bringing other muscle groups into play, because that's the way the body functions. Right? It doesn't function in isolation. Like it's just good to be aware of that, because sometimes when people start reading bodybuilding literature and they're like, okay, this is a compound exercise and this is an isolation exercise, and okay, I want to train this muscle group and that muscle group, they over complicate it, or they take it too literally, like saying, well, I'm doing a rear delt exercise, well, I shouldn't feel anything except that rear delt. Yeah, it's not going to work that way, because all those supporting muscle groups are still going to come into play. Right? So again, just be aware of that, and adjust your workouts accordingly. I mean, ideally you should feel most of the tension in the body part you're trying to train, but feeling it in other body parts is not a bad thing. Right? It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong per se. All right, Marcus is joining us. He says, hey, Lee, I really enjoy doing bro splits, but other bodybuilders don't recommend it because you're only training muscle groups once a week, which isn't enough. What are your thoughts? Thanks. Love your videos. You basically answered your own question there. You really enjoy doing it. Now, are you getting results from it? If you enjoy doing it, I'm going to assume you're probably also getting some results from it, because we typically don't enjoy doing something that's not providing some return on investment, meaning return on the effort you're putting into it, right? If you're working out in the gym and you're seeing no gains and you're putting in all this work and it's like, I got nothing to show for it, you're probably not going to enjoy it for very long, right? So if you're seeing some progress, you're enjoying what it is that you're doing, keep doing it. I mean, until the results stop or until you want to change it up. But this is something like, if you ask 10 bodybuilders to explain their workout program or their preferences, you'll probably get 10 different answers. And it doesn't mean that they're right or wrong. It's what do they prefer, or what stage are they at in their training? I mean, when I was competing in bodybuilding, I did the typical bodybuilding body part split, which is nowadays they call it a bro split, but it's just basically having one or two muscle groups that you would train per session. So maybe it's a chest day, back day, leg day, arm day, shoulder day, etc. I did that for years, and I got great results from doing that, and I enjoyed it when I was doing it. And as I progressed with my workouts, I tried different styles of training. When I was focusing on powerlifting, with powerlifting, they don't focus on body parts, they focus on exercises. So you would have bench press day and assistant exercises for the bench press, or you would have squat / deadlift day and assistant exercises for the squat and the deadlift, right? So you're thinking of training the exercise and all the muscles and assistant moves that would come in to support that lift, not necessarily the body parts. Right? Bodybuilders are different, because bodybuilders are focusing on building the body, not just simply moving weight. So they focus on the muscle groups. But again, it's not right or wrong. It's like, what are you training for? What's your goal right now? What's your time schedule allow for? I mean, if you have time to go to the gym and do a bro split and you're in there 5 or 6 days a week and you enjoy it, you're making progress with it, ride that wave of momentum for what it's worth. We're having other types of training programs, like maybe an upper lower body split or a push pull legs or even total body, where that can really come into play is for situations when you're not able to dedicate as much time to the gym. So like in my situation, for example, I do a lot of total body training because I'm divvying up. I'm not in the gym 5 or 6 days a week. I'm in the gym 2 or 3 days per week. And then the rest of the time I'm training for cycling. Right. So when I'm doing it that way, I like to, if like, let's just say I'm getting 2 gym workouts in a week, I'd like to do 2 total body workouts. And I find that that allows me to have a little bit of stimulation, rest, recover, and grow between those workouts. And I'm not neglecting anything, but it allows me then to dedicate most of my training emphasis towards what I'm really focusing on now, which is improving my cycling. Right. So, I mean, that's just a different stage I'm at. When I was bodybuilding, it was different. Right. So, I mean, it's not right or wrong. It's like, what's your goal? So, just keep that in mind. Like when you're talking to other people, I mean, like respect their opinion, take it in and listen to it, but use your own filter to decipher whether this makes sense to you or not. Even what I'm sharing, like don't just take it all like gospel, like listen to it, absorb it and say like, does this make sense for me in my situation and what I'm trying to achieve? If it does, yeah, go for it. If it doesn't, then maybe you want to modify it to fit you and your circumstances. Right? Like I'm not one of these guys who come up with these artificial rules or these artificial templates and say like everybody got to do it this way, right? Like everybody got to do a bro split or everybody got to do a total body or everybody got to do a push pull legs or no, it's what's best for you based on your circumstances and your situation and also your fitness level, right? Like if I was having a conversation with someone who has never worked out before or is coming back to the gym after a 20-year layoff, the conversation is going to be very different than if I'm talking to someone who's been training consistently day in and day out for the last 10 years or more. Two totally different circumstances, different fitness goals, different levels. The conversation is going to be different, right? Just like in school, like the conversation you're going to have with someone who's a child starting kindergarten is going to be totally different than the conversation you're going to have with someone who's entering university. Right? They're both going to school, but they're different sides of the spectrum, right? So the conversation and what would apply to both people are going to be totally different. All right, what else we got there? We have Lee joining in. Got a question. I saw a comment on the Facebook group earlier about using BPC 157. I've used it a couple of years ago on a shoulder injury. I used it for a week and it really helped. Cool. You know, I appreciate you for sharing that. And I have not used it myself. For anybody who's, many of you probably know what this is because it's very popular on the internet these days. Anybody who's searching, you know, injuries and stuff like that will probably have heard about this if you're in the loop. Like if the algorithm knows that you're searching for fitness content, this has probably popped up in your social media feeds or something like that. But BPC 157 is a peptide and it really helps to heal the body, right? I mean, like, I haven't used it myself personally, but I know several of my coaching students have used it. And one of my coaching students in particular, we were having a lengthy conversation about this because he had injured his shoulder. And, you know, we tried all the traditional routes, like, okay, let's just do some rehab exercises and some physiotherapy type work and working around the injury and all that. And sure, it did help to a degree, but the injury was still kind of lingering. Like, you know, it wasn't, he could manage it, but it wasn't really getting any better. And then finally, you know, we started looking into this, and I know people who have used it, you know, bodybuilders and athletes and that. And I said, you know what, let's give it a try, right? I mean, if you're willing to try it, I mean, and this is kind of like a gray area thing, right? You know, you'll be totally honest, right? You can go Google search it and look it up yourself. There is some gray area here. So take all this with a grain of salt. This is for educational purposes only, right? But he went ahead and he tried it, and within about a month, his shoulder was feeling like no pain. He was able to train again and make strength gains in the gym again. No pain, no aggravation to that shoulder, and was able to resume doing exercises like various, you know, chest presses and shoulder presses and things that were causing aggravation in that shoulder. Now he's able to do those movements pain-free and comfortably again. So there is something to it. I mean, it's a legit product. I mean, a lot of people have used it and the feedback is positive, right? I haven't heard anybody who's used it personally have anything negative to say about it. So again, that's just, you know, my chatting to people. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I've never even used it myself personally. And the reason I haven't, because I haven't had any serious injuries recently that would cause me to want to use it. But if I did have a nagging injury that wouldn't heal or that I couldn't manage, I wouldn't hesitate to try it out, to give it a shot, because of everybody that I've known who've used it, they've all had positive feedback to share about it. And it seems to work relatively quickly. Like within a month, you're going to see some significant improvement from the people I've talked to who've used it. Okay. But again, do your homework on it, because there's tons of YouTube videos. Like you can go on Google and all that. Like there's no shortage of information. Like just to search for BPC 157 and you can spend your time doing homework right there. All right, who else we got? We have Les joining us. Says, when a structured workout doesn't go as planned, like missing reps or failing to hit the numbers, many of us feel guilty or like we failed. I used to tie my self-worth to the weights on the bar. Why do you think we attach our value to the numbers? Is it an ego, a genuine desire to improve, or something else? It's all of the above. It really is. I can certainly relate to that. I used to get, and to a degree I still do, right? I mean, like if you're training and you're hoping to make progress and you're hoping to see improvement and you don't, sometimes it can be a bit disheartening. But you have to look at the bigger picture and realize progress in the gym, or progress in any area for that matter, is not always linear, and it's not always your fault, meaning that that you're lazy or you didn't try hard enough or whatever. I mean, there could be numerous reasons why you didn't hit your numbers. I mean, it could have been like maybe you didn't sleep that well the night before. Maybe you're feeling a bit under the weather. Maybe like you got a little bit of a cold or a sinus infection or something, or some lingering aches or pains, like joint or tendon issues. Maybe you're not fully recovered from the last workout. Maybe there's stress at work or stress at home, family issues or financial issues, and that stress is just eating away at you in the back of your mind, which is, that all these little things can take away from your energy and your focus, and also your recovery. So I mean, there's so many variables that can come into play, right? It's not always just eat right and exercise. Like, I mean, it's not always as simple as that. There's all these other things that come into play, right? So if you go in and you miss a lift or whatever, I used to sometimes get upset by it, but now I don't make a big deal of it. I really don't. I mean, I just realize that some days are not going to be my day. And if that's the case, like I'm like, prime example, I was at the gym earlier today, and I was doing a total body workout, and I ended up doing some squats, and I did a few sets of squats. And after a few sets, I felt a little twinge in my hamstring, right? No, nothing major, but just a little twinge. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to push through this. I'm just going to rack the weight and stop it. And I was still like on the warm-up weights on the way up, if you will. And I felt that, and I just said, no, that's good. I'm not going to push it today. And then I went ahead and I was doing some bench presses, and same idea. I was just doing some progressively heavier warm-up sets. And then on one of the sets, as I was building it up, I just felt like a little twinge in the pec. Again, nothing major, but I said, you know what? This is not my day. I had a little twinge in the hamstring, a little twinge in the pec. I don't know. Like I'm not gonna tempt it. I'm not gonna push myself, because I know in the past, sometimes I just suck it up, buttercup. Man up. Don't be a pussy. Work through the pain, no gain, all that kind of bullshit. And sometimes it works. Sometimes you can work through the pain. Knock on wood. Hopefully it works out. But you're walking the razor's edge, because as you push through the pain, you could also be risking an injury. And I've had my share of injuries over the years to know that it's just not worth it. Like, I would rather scrap a workout or miss a workout than getting injured. Like, in the greater scheme of things, nothing's going to hinder your progress as much as an injury, right? Like, if you skip a workout today, big deal. You can always go to the gym the next day, right? Like, there's nothing gained, nothing lost, right? It's a big deal. If you're like I did today, like during the workout, didn't feel right, you know what? Scrap that exercise. Not going to do it. Big deal. I mean, nothing gained, nothing lost. Like I'm fine. I can go train again later. But if I push through the pain and ended up pulling or straining or tearing something, that's going to set you back big time. Because, I mean, if it's only a minor muscle pull or something, it might set you back a week or two. If it's a full on muscle tear, I mean, that could set you back weeks or months or heck, a year or more, right? And if it's something that requires surgery, then you're talking about definitely a year or more to get back on track. So the only thing that's going to hinder your progress in the greater scheme of things is an injury, right? So whatever I can do to remain injury free, I'm going to do it. And that's why I don't put any ego to this. So like if I miss a workout, I miss a lift or something like that, I'd rather be consistently good versus occasionally great, right? Good enough consistently. So I don't, I mean, that took me a long time to come to that realization, because when I was younger, I would push through the pain. And I think that's why I ended up getting the injuries that I did when I was younger. Whereas nowadays, you know, knock on wood, I haven't had a serious injury in years. And it's because I've changed my mindset around that and not putting that ego or that pressure on myself that, like, oh, you always got to hit a personal best. You know, if I'm not feeling it, I don't, I'm totally happy lightening up the load or just scrapping the exercise and doing an easier variation instead. Right? Like, hey, if you're doing squats and squats don't feel right, hey, scrap it. Like let's go do some leg extensions and leg curls. I mean, you can still train the muscle, but not risk the heavy load on your back and risk an injury in the process. All right. So I'm totally cool with doing that nowadays, but it took a long time to get to that point. And I still see it. I mean, like the other day I was at the gym and I was watching some young guys and they were all testing their 1 rep max bench. And I just cringe when I see that. And one after the other, right? They were going on racking the weight and staple to the bench, right? And then getting their buddies to deadlift the barbell off their chest. And they kept doing it over and over again. And they try to psych themselves up, hoping that the next time they're going to get it. And each time, staple to the bench and staple to the bench. And like, I mean, it's just, right? I mean, it's one of those situations where I would like to go over and tell them, like, guys, don't be such effing idiots. But right, you know, you can't really do that. Right? You can get your vibes, like if someone's open to advice or not, and I could just tell these guys weren't open to advice. Like they were ego lifting, trying to get that 1 rep max bench, which never ever happened. But I mean, it's only the grace of God that they didn't seriously hurt themselves, right? But you know what, I used to do it myself back in the day too, so I mean, I can relate to it. Right? Sometimes when you got youth on your side, you can get away with those things, but the older you get, the less forgiving your body becomes. All right, who else we got joining in? Thomas. Can I ask you, what was your best 1 rep max deadlift? I know a lot of people struggle when it comes to deadlifting. The most I ever deadlifted was 530 pounds. And I did that back in 2004. So I'm dating myself. 21 years ago. 21 years ago, I pulled 530. That was my personal best. I never ever got beyond that. I mean, I stayed in that 500 range for a while, but that was my personal best. And then shortly thereafter that's when I had that back tore the muscle in my back. And since then, I haven't been able to pull anywhere near that since. In fact, now, whenever I go, you know, pushing over 300 pounds, I can feel that muscle. It's like it's the check engine light comes on saying, hey, don't push us. You hurt us before. Well, right, we're on the breaking point here. So I can feel that every time I start to push the weight heavier. So I don't do heavy max effort. I mean, it's multiple sets, sub-maximal weight, right? Just trying to focus on working the muscle, not maxing out anymore. But yeah, those were the days. How important is stretching and how much time do you dedicate to it? I've never stretched consistently and I feel stiff and tight. Well, that's it probably answers the question why you feel stiff and tight. I dedicate a lot of time to stretching. What I do at the end of every workout, I take at least 5 to 10 minutes to stretch out the muscles that I trained. And this is something that I've done pretty consistently for years, and I still do it today. I mean, if I'm really pressed for time, like I got to just get in the gym, get it done, get out. Sometimes I may not do the stretching because, I just want to be as time efficient as possible. But if time is not an issue or I can schedule it in to make time for it, I do the stretching. So I would say 90% of my workouts I finish with 5 to 10 minutes of stretching, right? Like that's usually my general rule of thumb. And I did the same thing today. Like when I finished my training today, I did some stretching. And those areas that I mentioned were tight, like I felt a bit of tightness in the chest, a bit of tightness in the hamstrings. I spent some extra time stretching and doing some mobility work for the chest and hamstrings. And it felt really good afterwards. So yeah, I prioritize it. And I actually have a playlist up on YouTube showing the stretches that I do. Right, so you can check that out. And I also have a short, like one of those YouTube short videos. It's just like a highlight, a 60-second highlight covering all the different stretches that I do post-workout. So if you just do a search for like Lee Hayward stretching, it should pop up there in YouTube. But I prioritize it. And that's something I've done ever since the early days of training, because even before I got seriously involved with weight training, I was involved with martial arts. And we really emphasize flexibility and stretching in martial arts. So I had that foundation right from the start. And I think that it's certainly helped, right? I that's one thing. Like I don't feel stiff and tight generally. I feel actually very loose and mobile, especially when I prioritize it, right? So yeah, I'm definitely a huge advocate of it. Even yoga, like I've done yoga. I mean, there are differences, right, between just plain old static stretching and yoga, and there are a lot of similarities, but that's another thing you can focus on as well. And a lot of guys they have this negative or this underrated view of yoga, thinking, oh, yoga's for sissies. Oh, that's easy. That's a wimpy workout or whatever. But you'd be surprised at how challenging yoga is. Like I've seen guys who can, bench 300 pounds in the gym, squat 400 pounds or whatever, and then try and hold a yoga pose and topple over, or their legs are shaking like a leaf because they can't hold it. Right? It's totally a different style of exercise, and it works a lot of the balance and stabilizer muscles. And the thing I like about yoga is it's kind of like the complete opposite of strength training, especially like bodybuilding and power training, where you exert maximum effort and you're under that much tension for a short duration. Like yoga, you learn to relax under tension. So it's totally different. Like in bodybuilding, when you see someone grinding out a max effort set, like they don't look relaxed whatsoever. Like they look like they're busting their ass, and they are busting their ass. And, it's something they can only sustain for a few seconds. But in yoga, you're constantly under tension for prolonged periods of time, and you actually learn to like control your breathing, control, your body, and learn to relax under tension. You learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's a great skill to develop and can be very complementary to strength training. So for anybody who's stiff and tight and you want to prioritize it, look into some yoga. I mean, like there's tons of videos on YouTube showing it, but it would be valuable if you have like yoga classes at your local gym or in your local area or whatever. Like check out like the community centers, the gym, or maybe there's a yoga studio or whatever. It'd be worth doing a few lessons, right? Just to kind of get the taste of it and, get the fundamentals, and have someone who can be there to help you one-on-one, right? Or even in a group class, at least have an instructor helping you, because trying to figure it out on your own, it's so easy to make mistakes or to be frustrated. But if you have a good coach who can guide you and teach you, take you through it, it can be invaluable. So something I would definitely recommend, especially for people who feel tight and stiff and you've been purposely neglecting it, wouldn't be a bad idea. We got Philip joining in. Says, how long can a weight loss plateau last? Strength training 2 to 3 times a week, plus 2 cardio sessions, following an even split of macronutrients for diet, stuck in a plateau for 6 months. All right. You're not in a fat loss plateau. You've just found your new maintenance, right? I'm just going to tell it like it is. Um, a weight loss plateau, if you are truly in a calorie deficit, would only be a week or two, something along those lines, before you would start to see progress again. But what you have found is your new maintenance. Even though you're eating healthy and you're exercising, and you think, well, I'm eating right, I'm exercising, weight should just fall off. Once you condition your body to that, that's not anything new anymore. Like, I'm going to take you through the journey. Like, if you have someone who's overweight, out of shape, not exercising, eating whatever they want, the typical average person these days, and you have them go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week, do 2 or 3 cardio sessions a week, and they start eating a better quality diet, the weight is just going to start to fall off them, because all their body's not used to this exercise stimulation and the extra calorie burning and the increase that has on the metabolism, right? So boom, that's going to be a big change, and their body's going to adapt to it. And in the process of adapting, they're going to get stronger, they're going to burn body fat. Follow that up with better eating habits, so they're not eating as much junk, and now they're actually eating more quality protein, getting in good vegetables, healthy fats, well-balanced nutrition. The weight's just going to start to fall off them. Maybe they'll see fat loss for several weeks or months or maybe even a year, who knows, but they'll just see consistent progress. But eventually that's going to become the new norm. The body's going to adapt to that, and that's not going to be unique stimulation anymore. That's just day-to-day norm, right? And once that becomes day-to-day norm, then you plateau, right? This is just new maintenance. So if you want to go beyond that, you have to do more, right? And one thing that I see right there, I would bump up the exercise before I'd scale back the nutrition. Like 2 to 3 times a week in the gym working out, that's maintenance for a lot of people, right? Like, I know some people say, like, wow, I work out 2 to 3 times a week. Whew, I'm hardcore. You look at anybody who's serious, they're training more often than that, right? Even the low volume guys are probably in the gym at least 4 days a week, right? That's something like maybe a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that. So I would add an extra weight training session in there, and I would also bump up the cardio. And with the cardio, it doesn't have to be high intensity cardio. It could just be low intensity, like low intensity walking, low intensity cycling, cardio machines at the gym, but do some form of daily cardio. And to kind of put things in perspective, like when I would be in serious fat loss mode, especially like when I was competing in bodybuilding, I would do an hour of cardio a day minimum. And very often it was like walking for an hour a day or cycling for an hour a day. Or if the weather wasn't fit to get out walking or cycling, I go to the gym and use the cardio machines for an hour a day. I had cardio machines at home. I had an elliptical machine for years, and I actually broke the axle on the elliptical machine, because I used it for years for contest prep. And I remember, this was a few years back now, I was using the elliptical machine, and it had it wasn't smooth anymore because it was getting a bit of wear and tear and had a bit of a clunk in it, right? But it still worked. I'm still using it, and I was just using the elliptical, and then all of a sudden, clash, and like the whole side of it came off. And in the middle, where the feet and the arm handles rotate around, there was this big metal axle. It was like a 1-inch solid metal axle. The thing had literally snapped off in the middle, just from thousands upon thousands of rotations over. I had that machine for, oh my God, at least 15 years or more. And it was used consistently for at least 15 years, maybe even closer to 20 years. I'm not sure, but it was a lot of time, and a lot of contest preps went into that elliptical. But literally a 1-inch metal axle, just through years and years and years of rotation and countless thousands, or if not millions of rotations, it literally just snapped right clean off. Right. But bottom line, I'm just saying, like, I put in the hours doing the cardio, right? Like an hour a day minimum. That was my baseline. And if I was behind schedule, I would bump that up. right? But the hour a day was like, okay, that was my maintenance, if you will, right? Anything above that was bonus. And the weight training, it was probably 5 to 6 days a week in the gym for weight training, right? Plus posing practice on top of that as well. So in your case, before you go cutting out the calories, I would focus on bumping up the activity, right? And the easiest way to do that, like say an extra gym session, and then try to get in some extra walking. And the cool thing about extra activity is it doesn't always have to be a big, long, structured workout. It doesn't like have to be a dedicated 2-hour training session at the gym, right? Like if you got 15 minutes on your lunch break, like get outside and go for a walk. Like after work, go for a walk. In the evening after dinner, go for a walk around the block. Like just take advantage of these little blocks of exercise. And the more often you get off your ass and move, the better it's going to be for increasing calorie burning and just helping to optimize your metabolism. And this was a game changer for me because I used to have that mental block thinking, well, if I don't have an hour to do cardio, then I don't have time. Or if I don't have 2 hours to go to the gym, I don't have time. Well, that's bull, because there's probably lots of times throughout the day where, okay, you might not have an hour or 2 hours, but you got 20 minutes, you got half hour, you got something. So even if you got some home gym equipment, maybe like dumbbells or resistance bands or whatever at home, you can take advantage of that as well to squeeze in some extra workouts, right? Do some body weight exercises like push-ups, squats, and some dumbbell curls, rows, shoulder presses, yada, yada, yada. I mean, you can get in a great workout at home with minimal equipment, but bump up that activity level first. I would do that for the next month and just see if that alone should create a bigger calorie expenditure to help get you past this plateau, which is truly your new maintenance. And then if that stalls after that, then you can look into tightening up your nutrition even more. But start with the exercise expenditure first, because honestly, that's to me 2 to 3 workouts a week plus 2 cardio sessions. That's maintenance. That's not progression, right? That's what I would do if I was just trying to maintain. If I wanted to progress, I'd do a lot more than that. And I'm saying that to you because I know you've been around the fitness game for a while. Like I recognize your name, and I know you've been following these video chats for years. You've been part of like the Lose Your Gut Challenge for years. I've seen you around the game for a long time. You need to step it up, right? Just tell it like it is. We got Jeff joining in. Can you get stronger if you lift lighter, more reps? You can still make progress in all the different rep ranges. Now, what's your definition of stronger? I mean, it will carry over. Like prime example, like if you can, I just throw out a number. If you can bench press 135 pounds for 10 reps and then you build that up to 20 reps, you're stronger. And that strength is going to carry over into pretty much all ranges, from your 1 rep max to your high reps and in the middle reps. Like you're going to get stronger. But if you really want to optimize one specific type of strength, like for example, power lifters, right? 1 rep max strength. They have to train for that strength to get specifically stronger at it. Like doing endless repetitions with light weight isn't going to maximize your 1 rep max strength at the highest level, right? Because you need to build not just the muscles and the endurance, the muscular endurance, but you need to build the strength and stability in the joints, tendons, and ligaments, and the ability to hold that much heavy weight, right? So in the case of powerlifters, a lot of times they'll do like heavy partial work and heavy overload work where they're maximizing just sheer strength and just time under tension and load with heavier weights. Like prime example, like you'll see powerlifters doing lockout work with weights even heavier than their 1 rep max, right? To condition their body for that. So if you're always lifting light weights, yeah, initially you're going to get stronger all over. But I mean, that's, as I mentioned with Philippe's question earlier, eventually that's just going to become the new maintenance, right? Your body's just going to be conditioned to lifting light weights. And if you really want to lift heavier weights, then you're going to have to tax the body with heavier weights. But the thing is, you want to build up to those heavier weights gradually, right? Like it's no good to say, oh, I rep out 100 pounds for sets of 20 reps. And then, well, I want to get stronger. So all of a sudden I'm going to go 200 pounds and do it for sets of 5 reps. no, that's too big of a jump. Like you're going to get hurt, right? Build it up gradually, slowly, progressively. So like if literally like make 5 pound jumps in weight, but gradually think in that direction. If your goal is to get stronger, you need to increase the weight on the barbell or in the machines or the exercises, right? You just can't keep lifting light weights and expect to get stronger, right? Now, it all depends on what your main goal is, right? Like if your goal is just general fitness or improving muscular endurance, yeah, light weights, high reps, that's going to make you stronger for sure. But what is it you're training for, right? That's the question we need to ask, right? Because and that applies to all these different types of questions. Like you got to look at where are you and where do you want to be, right? And this is where fitness can get confusing because a lot of times people just throw out generic answers based on maybe their situation. Like if you were asking a competitive bodybuilder, right, they would give you the protocol to advance towards becoming a competitive bodybuilder. If you were talking to a competitive powerlifter or strongman competitor, they would give you the protocol to advance with powerlifting or strongman or whatever. If we were talking to a CrossFitter, they would give you a protocol to advance with CrossFit. If you were talking to an endurance athlete, they'd give you a protocol to advance with endurance. So what is it you're trying to train? Like what's your definition of stronger, right? Is it 1 rep max strength? Is it muscular endurance? Is it cardiovascular fitness or some combination thereof, right? You have to break it down and that's where you can really dial it in specific to you and your situation. And that's where having a coach in your corner can help, right? Versus just giving you a cookie cutter, one size fits all answers. They can customize it to you and your situation. Johnny's joining us. What's the best amount of reps and exercises for the biceps? I do preachers, seated arm curls up to 12 reps, but struggling to gain much. Better routine. This is a strategy you can use, and this is kind of like a hack that a lot of fitness coaches and trainers use. Whatever you're currently doing and doing consistently, do the opposite. So if you're always doing sets of 12 reps, try doing sets of 6 to 8 reps, right? If you're always doing the same exercises, try switching it up to different exercises. Like providing unique muscle stimulation is one of the best ways to create faster growth, because when you, assuming that you've been doing this for a while and you're truly stuck in a plateau, like let's just say you've been doing this sets of 12 of these exercises and you've been doing that for months on end. And it's like, it doesn't seem like no matter what I do, I'm not getting anywhere with this. Like I'm just stuck in a rut. Change it up, like change up the exercises, change up the set and rep pattern, provide some unique muscle stimulation. And that will very often be the thing that's going to help to spur on some new growth. And this is a little trick that a lot of trainers and coaches will use, especially when they're working with new coaching students. Like someone comes to them and say, hey, I'm stuck. What can I do to bust past this plateau? We just like flip it upside down, like just provide some unique muscle stimulation. And that unique stimulation is very often the thing that's going to help to spur on some new growth in a relatively short period of time. And then when that happens, right, the person's going to look at the coach and say, whoa, this coach is amazing because I got these fast gains all of a sudden. And, you know, it's not necessarily that the coach is amazing. Well, if they're recommending it, they probably are. But it's that you're providing unique muscle stimulation, because every program you go through, there's always phases of adapt, grow, plateau. Adapt, grow, plateau. So you go to the gym, you start a new workout program. In the process of doing that, your body's going to start to adapt to going to the gym and doing that workout program. But after you do it for a prolonged period of time, several weeks or several months or however, eventually you're going to get to the point where, you know, that growth from the adaptation of that program, it's going to start to stall, right? It's going to become the new norm. Like I mentioned before, it's going to become, this is the new maintenance. This is no longer unique muscle stimulation anymore. This is just our daily maintenance, if you will. So in order to go beyond that, we need to provide muscle stimulation beyond that. And that's where you need to change it up, right? So this is normal. And like, I'm sure if you think like if you go to your local gym, there's probably a lot of people there, especially a lot of seniors. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm just saying it as a general observation, especially in the morning. You go earlier in the morning, you'll probably see the same core regulars and might be some seniors there who've been working out for years, maybe working out for decades. And they're kind of like doing the same thing. Like they come in, they probably do 10 minutes of cardio, and then they do some sort of little warm-up ritual there on the mats, and then they probably go through their circuit of machines, and then afterwards, they finish up and leave, and then they come in, they do it all over again, and they've been doing their same little workout ritual for years, and they probably look exactly the same now as they did years ago. Like they're lifting the same weights, doing the same thing over and over again. Now, not that that's a bad thing, because heck, it's a lot better of a hobby to be hanging out at the gym and doing this, because I mean, you're still reaping the health and fitness benefits, and the exercise benefits from it, and the social aspect of it. I mean, it's much better to hang out at the gym than hang out at the pub, right? Get your daily dose of exercise versus your daily dose of booze. I mean, that's a much better habit. But you'll see that where a lot of people, they do the same thing over and over again, but that's just the new maintenance. They're not actually making progress. They're just, at this prolonged plateau, because the work they do is what their body's accustomed to, and there's no reason for the body to change. It's just, this is the new maintenance. If you want to create progress beyond that, you got to push yourself beyond that, right? You just can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, right? You have to provide, some form of progressive overload in there. And sometimes unique muscle stimulation, changing up the set and rep patterns, changing up the exercises is a great way to provide that progressive overload. Because when you change an exercise, very often what happens is you probably have to start off with like lighter weight than what you're accustomed to. And then as you build up the mechanics and the skill of doing that new exercise, you're going to see rapid strength gains week after week. Now, some of those strength gains are going to come from improved technique and better mechanics of the exercise. Some of it's going to come from actual muscular strength. But still, the fact that you're changing up the movement, providing unique muscle stimulation, and training in a progressive overload fashion, that's where you see the fast gains from that change in training stimulation, right? And then you can even rotate through different exercises. This is something I like to do. Rotate through a series of exercises, so that each time you come back to the previous one, then you can work on it and try to beat what you did the previous time, right? So there's like, you can really expand on this principle. And this is something I do with like my coaching students that I work with one-on-one. Like we have a set of core exercises that we'll do, and we'll rotate through them when we're in the gym working together. And when we come back to an exercise, like sometimes you might have to start off a bit lighter, and then week by week, we gradually build that up to a new peak, probably a new personal best. And then once it starts to hit a plateau, we'll switch it out for another exercise, start the whole process again, right? And it's a great way to keep the workouts fun and interesting, but it also makes you feel good because you're seeing progression in those exercises. Like you're regularly beating the weights, meaning like you're regularly getting stronger, you're regularly setting new personal records in a whole series of exercises, and it just keeps that motivation high. Whereas when you're stuck in a plateau, doing the same thing week after week after week, and it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere, it's very easy to get down on yourself and lose motivation, right? And then that makes it sometimes harder to stay consistent. But when you're seeing progression on a regular basis, I mean, your motivation is just going to blaze like a forest fire. Right? You're going to look forward to going to the gym because you're going to want to see, hey, am I going to set a new personal record today? How much am I going to set? And it just keeps things fun and interesting. All right, what else we got there? We have Mike's joining us. Says, when I'm on a fast, I've noticed my stomach is so bloated. Why is that? I have no idea, and that doesn't seem right. Because normally if you are fasting, and I mean like truly fasting, i.e. like you're not eating anything, you shouldn't have any intestinal bloat in there, and your stomach shouldn't be bloated. What if that was me, I would go get that checked out, because maybe there's some sort of underlying issue. Maybe there's some sort of nutritional intolerances there, or something that's causing gas or bloating or whatever. But like personally, I've always noticed if I've ever, I don't practice intermittent fasting myself anymore. I have in the past, and again, there's pros and cons to it. I'm not going to go into it here because it'll take too long. I could do an hour long podcast on intermittent fasting alone, but I'll just scratch the surface here. When I've done it in the past, I always found like that's when my stomach would be the flattest, the slimmest, because it's empty. Right? I mean, like you should not be bloated if there's nothing in there. So if you're finding that you're fasting and your belly is bloated when it's empty, maybe there's some underlying issue there. Maybe gut health issues or intolerance issues. Who knows, right? And maybe you want to even unpack that. Like, is it bloated during the fast or is it bloated after you break the fast? Right? Like, I don't know. You said when you're on a fast, so I'm assuming stomach's empty, you're feeling it's bloated, but that's very rare, right? Right. It should not be that way. If in fact it should be the complete opposite. But I really don't have any specific answer for you other than you should get that checked out because maybe there's some gut health issues that you need to look into, like gluten intolerance, lactose intolerance, or some sort of intolerance that could be causing some bloating or gas issues. What else we got there? All right, we got shows Latino speed. Okay, hey bro to you. Where are you from? I'm from Canada. You must be brand new to the video chat. Welcome to the chat. Glad to have you joining in. All right. All right. If you have a question, feel free to ask. But glad to have new people joining in the chat. Much appreciated. Let's see. We have a deal. Says, have you tried the EC stack for fat loss and would you recommend it to an obese woman to accelerate fat loss? I have used ephedrine and caffeine for years. I have used it like back when I was competing in bodybuilding. That was a regular for me. The thing with ephedrine now, I believe, now again, don't quote me on this, but I believe that it's even banned in Canada. I know it was banned in the United States years ago, but it was still available in Canada. But I believe it was this year that they banned it. So it's only, I don't even know if it's available by prescription or what, but ephedrine is basically it's an asthma medication that helps to open up the airways, but it has this nice little side effect of increasing energy, suppressing appetite, and it's basically like the original pre-workout, if you will. Like people used to take it before their workouts, right, for an energy boost to help curb their appetite, help speed up the metabolism, right? And it's a crutch. I mean, it's not going to do the work for you. Like if you're not eating right, you're not exercising, like you say, well, I'm just going to sit on the couch. I'm going to treat it like Ozempic, right? I'm not going to exercise. I'm not even going to frig with my diet or nothing. I'm just going to pop this pill and hope that the weight falls off, right? The way that most people take Ozempic and all these related drugs, right? I'm just going to take the fat jab and watch the fat melt away, right? While I sit and watch TV. It's not going to do it that way. It's a crutch that can help accelerate the effort you're putting in because where it helps to increase energy levels, you can use it like a pre-workout in that sense to give you a bit of an energy boost when you're at the gym. Where it helps to curb your appetite, it's going to help to make it easier to stick to a diet. I mean, it doesn't eliminate your appetite like these semi-glutide drugs and stuff like that, but it just helps to curb it a little bit. It's kind of similar to coffee, but coffee plus one, if you will. Like, if you're feeling a bit hungry and you have like a cup of coffee, it'll take the edge off your hunger. And of course, the caffeine in the coffee gives you that little mental pick-me-up and a little bit of energy boost. Ephedrine is kind of similar to that, but it's like coffee plus one, if you will. That's why a lot of people would take caffeine and ephedrine. For me, I would have a cup of coffee and the ephedrine. I found it helpful. But I think they've actually banned it. So I'm not sure if it's still available or not. It's something I'd have to look into, right? Because I'm not 100% sure on that. As far as recommending it to an obese woman, I would have to ask Miss Obese Woman, what's your current diet like? What's your current exercise routine like? What's your current lifestyle like? And if the diet is shit, the exercise is non-existent, and the lifestyle is poor, I'd say let's start with that first. Let's not start looking for a shortcut before we lay a foundation, right? That's like deciding what color you want to paint your house before you even have the foundation poured. Like, let's lay a foundation. Let's have something built here before we start trying to pretty it up and look for shortcuts, right? Trying to just band-aid the solution. And this is where so many people get supplements wrong. They think like a supplement is going to cancel out poor diet, or a supplement's going to cancel out poor exercise, or whatever. The supplement's going to do it for me. No, right? The supplement can accelerate what you're already doing. So if you're doing nothing, then the supplement's going to accelerate nothing. If you're putting in good, solid effort in terms of training, nutrition, and lifestyle, then the supplements can give you that marginal edge improvement and can help to amplify the results you're getting from that. Right. So we need to look at the situation. But my general guess on that one, if someone's obese, they probably have a lot of work to do with diet and lifestyle and exercise before they start looking into supplements. All right, let's see what we got. Cool. Let's see what we got there. Anthony's got a question. He says, I broke my clavicle 6 weeks ago and only just managed to start lifting with that arm again. I don't know if there's any other follow-up to that. I believe there is. Hang on, just give me a moment. I started to use alcohol as a source of go-go juice to keep going. What are your thoughts on that? Do I really need to answer? Right? All right. You broke your clavicle 6 weeks ago, and alcohol is your go-go juice. My thoughts on that is, well, sorry that you broke your clavicle. I'm glad that you're on the mend, but as far as alcohol, that's not helping anything. I mean, I know it's a temporary pain reliever, and from a practical point of view, like I know people who are in pain, yeah, they want to have a few drinks because it numbs the pain, but is it helping? I mean, is that helping your health? Is it helping your fitness, or is it just a temporary band-aid? Which, what is it? It's a temporary band-aid. It's something that feels good now, or at least numbs the pain now, but it's going to cause more damage later on down the road, right? So with your health and fitness, or in any decision you make, try and rewire the way you look at things and say, what do I want in the future? Not what do I want right now? And that alone, like this is a good point. We'll probably finish it up on, because we're gone over the hour here now. So I'm going to get ready to clear this up. But I just want to cover this. Always ask yourself, is this helping or hurting me long term? Right? What do I want in the future? Like, where do I want to be this time next year? And is the decision I'm making now going to help to get me to that point, or is it going to set me back more? So I'll just use an example. Like you're craving some junk food, whatever, and you're saying, okay, like, hey man, I'd really like to order a pizza. I'd like to have a 6-pack of beer and a bag of Doritos and just kick back and watch TV, right? I don't feel like meal prep. I don't feel like going to the gym, blah, blah, blah. Right. So what do? Okay. You pizza, right? Beer, chips. That feels good now, but where is that putting you in the future? Right. Well, first of all, the next day, I mean, if you're half in the bag, your next day is a write-off because you got a hangover, right? You're probably not going to feel like going to the gym the next day hungover, and you're going to feel fat and sluggish and guilty because of all that crap you ate. Like, is that going to make you feel good in the future? No, but it makes you feel good now. Whereas if you ate healthy, if you went to the gym, you got a good night's sleep, like you did all those things, you might not necessarily want to do it now. Like, I'll be honest, like when I went to the gym this afternoon, I didn't want to go, right? I was like, I'm tired. I got a lot of work to do. I don't really feel like it, but you know what? I'm going to do it because it's who I am. It's what I do, right? I got to practice what I preach. So I got my ass up and I went to the gym, and I feel so much better because of that. And I know that that workout is like adding another brick to the wall. That's helping to make me better tomorrow, right? That workout done today is going to make me better in the future. Whereas if I had to skip that workout, that's not making me better in the future. So always put your decisions through that lens. Is this going to help me to get to where I want to go in the future, or is it going to just feel good now? And generally speaking, the decisions that are the poor decisions generally make you feel good now, but feel worse later. And the decisions that are the good decisions generally don't feel good in the moment, but they feel good in the future. They feel good when they're done, and you like the results of it when it's done, right? So if you can kind of rewire the way you look at things and adjust your habits accordingly, that can be a game changer. And when I look at everybody that I know who's successful in fitness or athletics or whatever, they operate from that mindset. It's like, where do I want to be in the future? What direction do I want to go? And they make their decisions based on that, not just what feels good in the moment. Because if we only always did what feels good in the moment, we'd always just be vegging out on the couch, stoned or high or drunk or eating whatever you want. Like, you'd just be a fat slob couch potato, because that's what feels good in the moment. But does it feel good when you're overweight, out of shape, health issues, haven't got the energy to walk the length of yourself? No. And then all the health problems that come along with it, that doesn't feel good. But that's the future if you take those actions today. So always ask yourself, like, where do you want to be in the future? And use that as your guiding direction. Now, with that being said, does it mean I'm always perfect or you always have to be perfect? Heck no. There are times when I do indulge and I do say, you know what, I'm too tired to go to the gym today. And you know what, I'm not going to go, or whatever. I mean, or life throws a curveball your way and you can't go. There's always going to be those challenges. But more often than not, I try to make those decisions. Like at least 80% of the time, I try to make the decisions that are going to move me in the direction of my goal. And then sometimes through life circumstances, or sometimes it's just because I'm lazy and I gave into the laziness, right? I'm totally transparent and honest. Sometimes I do. But more often than not, like I say, at least 80% of the time, I'm choosing to make that proper decision that's going to move me in the right direction. And that makes all the difference. And the cool thing about it is you don't have to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to be this all or nothing, you know, I'm all in or I'm all out or whatever. You just have to tip the scale in favor of being a little bit better than you were before. And as long as you do more good than bad, you can still make it work, right? It's like running a business. Like, you're still going, you're going to have income, you're going to have expenses. It's not like it's all income or it's all expenses and it's, you know, all or nothing, right? But as long as your income exceeds the expenses, you can still make it work. You can still have a profitable business. Same when it comes to your fitness. Like, it's not always going to be perfect. It's not all, you know, sunshine and rainbows. Like, there's sometimes you're going to screw up, make mistakes, get off track. But as long as you're on track more often than not, and you're tipping the scale in favor of doing more good than bad, you can make it work long term. And that's the key. That's the key, is to be good enough and good enough consistently, not this all in or nothing, you know, like the light switch, either I'm on or I'm off, right? Like, we want to operate like a dial, right? We just crank it up when we're pushing it, or we can dial it back a little bit, but we never ever turn it off, right? So if I get off track and I screw up, forgive, correct, continue, start again, very next day or very next meal. Don't let that screw up or that mishap derail into, you know, several poor decisions compounded. Like, prime example, here we are Friday afternoon. If you go and have a cheat meal, right, eat too much, drink too much, whatever, you know, you totally blow with things, it's so easy to say, you know, oh, I screwed up. Well, the weekend's blown. I'll start again on Monday. And then you're going to eat like crap on Saturday. You're definitely going to eat like crap on Sunday, because you got to get all those cravings out of your system, because diet starts on Monday. And then what happens? You start your diet on Monday, but look at all the damage you did over the weekend. Whereas if you screw up tonight, let's just say you do indulge, start again for your very next meal. Start again for your very next workout. Like, don't let it spiral out of control and say, well, I'll start again on Monday, or I'll start again in the new year, or I'll start again when everything's perfect. Because it's never going to be perfect. It never is. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be temptations. There's always going to be, I don't feel like it. But you just, where do I want to be in the future, right? And use that as your guiding light, if you will, for your decisions. And if you make your decisions more often than not based on where you want to be in the future, not what feels good in the moment, that'll put you in the right direction. So my thoughts on using alcohol as a go-go juice: is that putting you where you want to be in the future? Like, do you want to be an alcoholic? Do you want a beer belly? Do you want the health issues and the liver problems that come with consuming alcohol on a regular basis? If that's what you want, then go for it. All right. But if you don't want that and you want a healthy physique and a healthy body long term, then probably consider another form of a go-go juice, right? All right, guys, I'm going to get ready and clear this up. Again, thanks so much for joining in, and I appreciate the support. Glad to have you joining us. And if you want to elaborate on anything, because I know there's several questions I didn't get around to answering, if you would like to reach out to me, you can do so either through Facebook, through Instagram, or through email. Either one is fine, and I got the links to all that down in the description below. Feel free to reach out to me, and we can have a chat. And if you would like some help with a personalized fitness and nutrition program tailored to you, we can talk about that as well. Right? We've got several options available. So if you would like some help, just reach out and ask, and I can point you in the right direction. You know, if I can help you, I'll let you know. If I'm not the right person to help you, then I'll probably be able to recommend you to someone who can. Right? I've got a large network of people in the fitness industry. So if I can't help you get the results you want, or I don't feel I'm qualified to tackle the challenges you're going through, I'll probably be able to point you in the right direction to somebody who can. All right, folks, I'm going to get ready and clear it up. Have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Same time, same place. We'll be going live at 5 on Fridays on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Take care. Over and out.